Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. This is episode 108. I am your host, Avery, along with co-host Gitano Gallo, and this episode is powered by 91N. Lots to talk about in the hockey world, across the board. Let's be honest. The Canadian teams, most of them are absolutely in the shitter. The San Jose Sharks might be the worst team of all time. The Leafs are soft as baby shit. The Habs are actually teetering on mediocrity, which is a step up for them.
That's great. That's really fun.
So, yeah, we got lots to dive into, lots to talk about. Gitano and I actually attended the Jumbo Joe retirement ceremony here in Sault Ste. Marie. His jersey number 19 was retired by the Sault Greyhounds. It was a fantastic ceremony. So props to all involved. And congratulations, Joe, on a fantastic career once again. We mentioned that last week. We'll do it again. Okay, let's jump right into some Leafs talk, which I am not looking forward to, but we're going to do it anyway. So as mentioned in the opening, the Leafs are soft as baby shit. It's about as simple as that. They have no grit, no piss and vinegar, no sandpaper at all. One of their players had a high ankle sprain that very clearly happened on the ice by one of the rattiest players in league history in Brad Marchand, and 4 other guys on the ice did absolutely nothing. Ryan Reeves said a few words from the bench. Tyler Bertuzzi was laughing, and you can interpret that however the fuck you want. It doesn't matter. But moral of the story is nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. And Sheldon Keefe came out after the next day and said that he was disgusted with what he saw. Well, then why did he put his skill guys out there when Brad Marchand remained on the ice after injuring Timothy Liljegren? Why does the Tavares and Nylander line go out there and not, like, if that's not a spot for Ryan Reeves, then where the fuck is? I'm sorry. But you're paying this guy over $1 million a year for 3 years. That's his spot. You tap him on the shoulder and he knows what to do. Right? Like, you say, get out there, Ryan. You don't even have to tell him what to do. He goes out there and he does his business. That's what he's here for. And you have the audacity the next day, Sheldon Keefe, to come out and say that you're disgusted. I'm disgusted in you, to be completely honest with you. You're as soft as the rest of the team. You're the one who, when these guys come here, you take your scissors out and you neuter them. Okay? Tyler Bertuzzi has been the least gritty player on the ice at all times. Max Domi looks lost. Ryan Reeves is like the reason that we are losing hockey games right now. I didn't get to watch the Buffalo game last night, bits and pieces, but my understanding is he is a big part of the reason that we lost that hockey game, because he is completely useless on the ice. Completely useless. From what I've seen so far this season, man, I cannot believe we gave this guy 3 years. I cannot believe we gave this guy 3 years. He is, and obviously that means somebody else was willing to give him 2. Let him, because man, he's done nothing. He's done through 10 games here, through 11 games. He's shied away from confrontation. He had 2 fights. He went on a rampage for 2 games. Since then, he's shied away from confrontation. He looks lost, just like Domi out there. He doesn't add anything. He doesn't bring anything. And I don't care how great of a lock.
Throw a stat at you?
Go ahead. Throw a stat at me.
Through 11 games, when Ryan Reeves is on the ice, the Leafs are getting outscored 7-0. So he is providing nothing in terms of actual hockey for you.
Nothing at all. And you know what? I've said this to you. I said this to my girlfriend. I said this to my dad. This is how I feel. In that moment, when Timothy Liljegren gets hurt on that weird play by Brad Marchand, definitely a dirty play, but that was a weird one.
Yeah.
I've never seen really an injury like that before, where it's a slew foot, but with a stick. Like, it was a weird one. Anyway, clearly dirty. And your guy's hurt. Long-term, LTIR, right? Like, clearly going to be out a long time. Significant time were the words actually that Keefe used after the game. And there's no response. Like, not even. And the thing is there were, like, it's not like it was Matthews, Marner, and Nylander out there and Riley and Brody. It was like Mark Giordano was on the ice. That's your defensive partner, Mark. Like, you're a tough guy. You jump on his back and feed him. It's hockey. This isn't. I know I use this reference, and even you've mentioned confrontations and so. This isn't soccer. This isn't soccer. You put that guy's teeth through the back of his head. That's how you have to operate. This is hockey. Come on. There has to be something, man. You can't just do nothing.
And so like, the Leafs use the excuse of we didn't see it. Or like we didn't.
There's 80,000 iPads on the bench, and there's a television under the coach's feet that he watches replays on. You see it within 10 seconds of it happening. That's bullshit.
But even then, there was 30 seconds before the intermission?
Yeah.
So even if they didn't watch it in that 30 seconds on the bench, you go into the room, you look at it, and you go, okay, when we come out with this period, we're starting with the fourth line, and you guys are all three dropping the gloves and kicking the shit out of them.
That's how it has to be, man. Oh God, and I don't even care if we win that game. Like, we ended up losing in overtime. I honestly do not. I would give up the point that we ended up with for that physical response. And another thing that Keith said yesterday that pissed me off to no end is he said, I thought those goals by Matthews and Marner were a form of response. No, it isn't. No. You're not teaching anybody any lessons by putting pucks in the back of the net. You're supposed to fucking do that anyway. Like, shut up.
It would be different if Marchand was penalized and got those goals on the power play. You would kind of, you can make that argument then, but it wasn't. It was just they just scored during regular play because that's what you pay them a lot of money to do.
A lot of money, man. A lot of money. And it's just, I think the biggest issue and why people are so mad and why I'm so mad is because we were advertised that this team was going to be different, right? Like Brad Treliving we were told that these guys were coming in and it was going to change the mentality of this fucking hockey team because that's what's been lacking. That's why we can't do anything in the playoffs, is because that's when that mentality means the most, right? And that's what we thought we were getting. And through 11 games, it is nowhere to be found. In fact, it might have gotten worse. Where's the Bertuzzi that got traded to the Bruins last year and had an absolute tear? Where's the Max Domi that put up, what did he put up, 50 points last year?
50-ish, yeah.
Where's that guy? Where's the Ryan Reeves that strikes fear into people and makes everybody on the team feel like they can skate around an inch taller? Where's that guy? That's what we were told we were getting. Noah Gregor took Tyler Bertuzzi's spot on the second line. That can't happen. You make $5 million. Noah Gregor's on a PTO. That cannot happen. And it's pathetic. And Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, and Tavares, they can't score every goal. If you want to let's move away from the toughness aspect of those guys coming in. You got to contribute. You have to at some level. Can't. Nice. What's going on? Score a goddamn goal.
Outside of your big four, the rest of the Leafs forwards have combined for 9 goals this season.
Yeah, and Matthews has 11 in 11 games. He can't keep doing this. He scored a hat trick last night and we lost. John Klingberg needs to be sent to Europe, man. He can't hang. He is not good enough, and it's that simple. He's brutal, man. He was great 5 years ago, but he is a shell of himself. Like, I don't know what else to say, man. It's one of the most frustrating teams. And you know what? The worst, I don't know if this still stands after last night's game, but before their loss last night, they actually had a better record through 10 games than they did from each of the last 2 seasons. And that to me is scary. Like, you're telling me that we've been it makes me so angry. This team it's so, and it's the same shit, man. It's the same thing. It's like they don't care about each other. Like, man, how does Liljegren feel right now? He's out for months probably with this high ankle sprain because you know those are tough to come back from. Yeah. And nobody did anything. How does he feel? It's brutal, man. I don't have anything else to say. I'm done. It's a mess. And we'll talk about some other markets that are in even somehow more trouble than the Leafs right now. But let's get to Habs first, and then we'll talk about those markets out west that are just Jesus and here in Ontario. Anyway, Habs.
Yeah, so Habs lost last night to St. Louis 6-3. Not a great team game, but the one kind of shining light in it is Juraj Slafkovský finally got an opportunity to play with Caulfield and Suzuki. Took the opportunity well, scored his first goal of the season. The line combined for 15 shots, which is the most that Caulfield and Suzuki plus whoever's been on their wing this season have put up in a game this season. Slaf got 4 of those shots, which is a career high for him. Looked all right. Like, from what I've seen, again, we were at the Hounds game. We didn't get a chance to watch, but, like, he looked all right. He didn't look like he was, I saw a great post there talking about how the Habs are trying to find the right challenge level for him without just leaving him out to dry.
I realize you're talking about a first overall pick, right?
I realize I'm also talking about a 19-year-old. Like, that's the thing. If he is still eligible to be sent to the World Juniors this year, that's how young this
still
kid
the first
still
overall
is.
pick, dude. And Logan Cooley's down in Arizona, absolutely killing it right now.
Yo, he's fucking unreal. So good.
So I think you might have taken the wrong guy. But anyway.
Well, here's the thing. If this is the same, it's similar to the Zadina thing, like a few years back when I was dead set. Zadina was the guy the Habs needed to fucking pick. We took Kotkaniemi instead. And I was like, oh, fuck, the Zadina kid's going to be like, well, how did we miss that up? And what has Zadina done in the NHL, Abe? What's he done?
Well, right now he's playing on the worst team in NHL history, actually.
Exactly. And he's doing nothing for them. And he's done nothing since.
Yes.
But, like, that's my point is that we're not scouts. We don't fucking know. We don't know shit that we're talking about when it comes to that. So Logan Cooley, and that's not a comparison I'm gonna fucking make either, because Logan Cooley's a centerman first of all, but also he's just really fucking good too. Like, he's a really, really good player. And the Habs said when they drafted Slaf that they weren't drafting him for what he was going to be in 2-3 years. They're drafting him for what he can be in 4 or 5 years.
He's a first overall pick, man.
He's 19 years old.
The timeline for first overall picks is not 5 years.
Doesn't matter.
It's a failed pick. If the timeline's 5 years, it's a failed pick. Absolutely. No. I told you this last night. We're bordering on fucking Nail Yakupov territory here. That's where we are. This is one of the worst players.
This is nowhere near Yakupov territory. No.
Let me talk now.
Okay, I'll let you talk.
Okay.
I'll let you talk.
Statistically, in terms of XG, worst player in the NHL. Like, actually the worst player in the NHL. That means that everybody drafted after him in that draft that's playing in the NHL has been better than him. Every single player has been better than him that was drafted behind him. Every single one.
I'm curious to see how many of those guys are actually playing. Like, outside like the big names that I can think of, like, I know that's not like a shot thing. I'm genuinely curious.
Gitano, is I promise you there are people that are playing in the NHL that are in that draft. And him being a 1% XG literally means that he is worse than every single one of them. So,
and he's also 19.
So are they. That's my point. So are they. That's my point. And he is the worst first overall pick since Nail Yakupov, at least, and he might be worse. That's where I'm coming from here.
So for me, the Yakupov comparison is I don't like it. Mostly
I know you don't, because he's one of the worst picks in NHL history.
But the thing with Yakupov was he had an arrogance with him that he thought he was the shit. He thought he was the best player in the league, the best. Like, he thought he was this guy. There was no room for criticism with him. Everything you've heard about Slafkovský is that he's, loving working with Marty St. Louis, loving doing video sessions, on the ice sessions, wants to be better, wants to keep pushing himself, wants to get better. He's not sitting there going, oh, I'm the best. It's just going to come at some point. Like, he's actually putting in that work.
I'm watching his goal that he scored last night, and I'm not kidding. A 4th grader could have scored that goal. Like that. Like, he actually almost stick handled the puck off of his own stick on that. It was wow. This kid is not an NHL caliber hockey player at all. Like, not even close. Like, this isn't even AHL. This is like go back to Europe bad. Wow.
No, he'll be fine.
I can't believe you defend this kid. I cannot believe you defend this kid.
I can't believe you're willing to write off a 19-year-old who's played like 40, maybe 50 games now in the NHL.
Yeah, well, I am.
Like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Anyway, continue with your Habs talk.
Yeah, he did look good. So the whole thing was he looked phenomenal the first game of the year with Doc and Newhook. That line was they fucking lit you guys up. It was great. And then they also looked good in the first 10 minutes of the Chicago game until Kirby Dach went out. And then they've kind of struggled to find like a centerman for him because Newhook didn't really cut it. They had him playing on the wing with Anderson, and that also didn't work. They're just way too similar to each other. Like it just didn't work out nicely. So I was kind of surprised that it took them this long to put him with Caulfield and Suzuki. But I like it. I think it's you gave him that responsibility. He proved he can kind of step his game up to that level, contribute a bit. I like it.
Oh, man. Okay, so I just pulled up Jay Fresh. Shout out Jay Fresh. His player card for Juraj Slafkovský. His WAR in 2022-2023 was 11%. So that, for those at home, that means that he was like he's only better than 11% of NHL players. That is actually, and that is in 39 games played last year. So now if you take that comparison and you add this year into it, so you add an extra 10 games from this year, he's actually dropped that by 6% to 5%. So he's gotten worse this year, and like by a wide margin. So, yeah, man, it's okay to admit that you should have taken Logan Cooley and that this guy sucks. It's okay. You're allowed to do that.
No, I'm not going to admit to either of those things because I'm not going to write off a 19-year-old kid, Ave.
I also watched the little war room discussion about Juraj Slafkovský, and that was some of the most ridiculous conversation I've heard. It was just so funny to hear. I
actually don't know what you're talking about right now.
I believe one of the quotes. What was the quote? Oh my goodness! It was like listening to them talk was just like, what does that even mean? Like when they were talking about.
No, here's Ave. I have no idea what video you're talking about right now.
You have no idea, eh? So it was released yesterday, I believe. It was the Habs War Room talking about the decision to draft Juraj Slafkovský.
Oh, okay, no, yeah, okay. That sorry, when you said War Room, I was like, what the fuck, like. No, yeah, I know it. Yeah, it's they would have put. Oh, it didn't release it last year. I guarantee someone clipped it up and it fucking took off yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case as well. But it was just, man, the thought process behind that decision was so like it was just such. He was so hyped for such a little amount of time, and the Habs bit on it hard. And that's the way I see it. And they didn't really look at the long-standing track record of this kid who realistically had one good year, and it was right before his draft year. And that's and what they did see and what they mentioned in that is they saw progression, right? Like they saw the fact that he was just always getting better. But that's because he sucked, so he had a lot of room to improve, right? That's how I see it.
I mean, or you can say,
still not an NHL caliber player, but anyway. If you want to, maybe would you compare him to Lafreniere? Like I think even Lafreniere's has a better trajectory, and Lafreniere is not a great first overall pick. We know that.
I'm gonna say it's like two very different circumstances because Lafreniere joined like a almost cup contending team. Like the Rangers are like a good team. They are.
They have good goaltending. They have star power. They have depth. They have defense. They got it all.
Yeah, so he was never realistically gonna fucking like get top 6 minutes off the hop as a rookie, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Whereas Slav has had those top 6 minutes for a considerably worse team. We're not gonna beat around the bush there. The Habs are not that good. They've not been in the 50 odd games that he's played with them. So it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I just don't understand writing off a 19-year-old kid who has like potentially another like decade and a half of NHL hockey in him, and you're gonna write him off after 50 games.
Well, I don't see him like just watching him play the game. it's kind of tough on the eyes, man. Like I like to think of myself as like somebody who can reasonably, like, I'm not a scout, but I can reasonably evaluate a player's skill level, and he's not it. He's just not it.
I don't know. I think that's a lot of Leaf bias in you, and that you don't
Maybe
want
it
to
is.
admit you don't want to admit that the Habs. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's going to be a fucking 100-point superstar either. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But you just, in the same way that you don't like to admit that Lane Hutson's going to be him. Like,
No, what I don't like is you using Cale Makar as a comparison. That's what I
said
don't like.
Cale Makar-esque because they play a similar game. They play a similar style of game. That's not to compare their two, like, how they play the game is not embarrassing at all. I never once said he was going to hit Makar levels in terms of offense or defense or like production or anything like that. I just said they play a similar game. And Lane Hutson plays a Cale Makar-esque game. That's not bad to say. I'm not going to sit here and like defend myself and like die on that hill because there's nothing wrong with saying that.
I think it's a little ridiculous to say myself, but yeah, okay. I'll let you have it. Let's move on to something that is truly embarrassing.
Oh, like, here's the thing, Abe. I have no idea which direction you're going with this because there's so many.
So we're going to start here in Ontario.
Okay.
We're going to start with the Ottawa Senators. They're not having a good time right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the roast of the Ottawa Senators.
Like, they're not having a good time right now. Twice within, what was it, a 2-week period, they were penalized for some of the most bizarre shit ever. Like the betting thing with Pinto, which we've already talked about, so we don't have to touch on that too much. And now they're docked a first-round pick for their part in the Gitano mishap from like 2 years ago, like a year and a half ago. Like,
and I mean, like, I think,
like, go ahead.
In a bubble, I don't hate the punishment for the Gitano stuff at all. I think failing to disclose a guy has a no trade clause so you can ship him out. That's really fucking shitty. You should not be able to do that. And like, I think losing a first round pick is absolutely fair in the bubble of just that.
In a bubble. But I will remind you, and a reminder that these are my views, I will remind you that the Chicago Blackhawks were not docked anything for covering up sexual assault for over 10 years.
Oh, exactly. That's why I said in a bubble.
The punishment for bad record keeping is worse than the punishment for covering up sexual assault for 10 years.
And not just that, then also giving a recommendation for that individual to get a job at a school where he ended up assaulting minors. So yeah, no, like, that's what I mean. In a bubble, fair punishment. Compared to the rest of the punishment the NHL's ever dished out.
And the Chicago Blackhawks reward is Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
So,
like, they made triple what they were fined in season ticket sales after getting the first overall pick. Just saying. Like that's,
Yeah, exactly. So,
so like, in a bubble, fair punishment. It's like the Department of Player Safety, where it's like, sometimes you look at a suspension and you're like, yeah, that looks right. And then you look at all the other suspensions they've given out or not given out, and you're like, why is this one the only one that's right?
Yes, legitimately. Like, that's how actually, I gotta say, with their suspensions this year, they've been tough, they've been hard, and they've been consistent so far. To this point.
It'll give way.
We'll talk about that when it goes bad, because it surely will. We'll stick to the Ottawa Senators here. My favorite part about this whole story, like my really, really favorite part, is that the NHL failed to disclose either of these investigations, the Shane Pinto betting investigation or what was going on with this Gitano thing that happened a year and a half ago. They failed to disclose those investigations to the new owner, like the guy that just bought the team a month and a half ago.
So like, it's almost like they withheld information to process the transaction smoother.
Yeah.
Almost, right?
Yeah. It's one of the most hypocritical, hilarious things that you'll ever, like, it's like, you cannot make this shit. You actually can't make this up. It's genuinely hilarious.
Like, I actually do feel bad for the new owner, because, like, what the
Michael
fuck,
Andlauer, the poor bastard.
like you've owned the team for, like, what?
A month and a half. Legitimately a
Yeah.
month and a half. He bought it from the
Like,
Mountain.
Like 6 weeks you've had this team, and, like, the NHL's already doing this to you.
Well, and he accused the NHL of withholding this information so that the seller got a higher price. Like, he said those
Absolutely
words.
they did. Absolutely they did.
Oh my
I'd be
God.
taking them to court. I'd be taking them to court
Oh
for sure.
God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. For millions. Like, millions.
And, like, even without the Gitano stuff, it was just the Pinto stuff, like, still fine. But he could literally be like, yo, we are getting fined and in trouble and punished by the NHL for doing exactly this, and then they did it to us.
Like, it's hilarious. It's truly one of the fun. Like, they gotta make a movie. Like, they gotta make a movie. It's so good.
I already, like, Jay Baruchel needs to star in this movie. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Jay Baruchel as who can he play? Who can Jay Baruchel?
Anyone.
As Michael Andlauer. He's got to, like, gray his hair out a little bit. It'd be hilarious. That would be the funny. I would watch that movie 1,000 times. Anyway.
And then, like, on the ice, they're also dog shit. They're
dog shit on the ice. Last night, their fans were chanting "Fire DJ" about their coach. We forgot to mention that Michael Andlauer had dinner with Pierre Dorion and said, "You're done. You're fired. You're gone." We forgot to mention that they fired their GM. It was a mutual agreement, but Michael Andlauer said, "I had dinner with him last night, and we agreed that the punishment for this should be no less than his job." So he was fired.
Yeah. But it was like he mutually got fired.
He mutually got fired, yes. And that's what he said. He said the punishment should be no less than his job. And he agreed. Okay. Sure. But anyway, the fans are chanting. Brody Tkachuk is calling out fans in his post-game interviews. I called him Brody. Brady Tkachuk is calling out fans in his post-game interviews. He's saying that that's bullshit and that it's not helping. And, well, maybe play better, Brody. Like, seriously, man. Like, he looks like, I saw him in his post-game interview. He actually looked like he was 47 years old in that post-game interview. He looked so stressed, man. Like, just hair falling out, wrinkles all over, like, black eyes, like, just, oh man, Brady, what's going on? It's ugly over in the nation's capital, and they had some high expectations, and boy, are they not meeting them. And you can blame it as much as you want on the off-ice shit. They're just not a good hockey team.
Remember, though, Abe, the rebuild is over.
It's been over for 2 years.
I know.
It's been over for 2 years. Pierre Dorion said that, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a mess. What a mess. And here's the worst part, and watch this smooth transition here. It might not even be the biggest mess in the country, because if you go over to the state of Alberta right now, I think it might be on fire. I think the entire state might be on fire. That's a little insensitive. I think they had wildfires there. But you know what I'm saying. Like, they're rioting over in Alberta right now. The Oilers are dog shit. Their goaltenders could not stop a beach ball. And Calgary lost to Edmonton. So that goes to show you how bad Calgary is. Like, Huberdeau has gone from one of the best players in the league and a Hart Trophy candidate to a, like, below average player in a year and a half. And he makes $11 million, and his 8-year contract kicked in 10 games ago. Like, that is, and want to know who signed that contract? Brad Treliving. And I, for one, am horrified. Like, that might be one of the worst contracts in the league right now. This guy went from 118 to 50 points in a year. How does that happen? And I get it. He had Sutter last year, but he doesn't have Sutter anymore, and he's still dog water. So, like, something's got to
also, like, who the fuck are his line mates now? Like, they've got nobody. What, not the shell of Nazem Kadri, who hasn't been good in, like, 2 years?
Yeah, who had that one crazy good year in Colorado.
Yeah.
After an entire career of mediocrity, signs a massive contract, and then just right back to where he started from. Mediocre. Like, unbelievable. And, like, Mangiapane doing nothing. doing
No,
nothing.
he'll be eating suspension for that cross check he threw last night.
That was ridiculous. That was so stupid. Like, why even?
Like
the guys,
9 minutes into the game, cross check someone who's laying on the ice right in the back of the head, crushing his face into the ice.
probably broke his nose by cross-checking his face off the ice. Like, yeah, that was absurd. No, Lindholm, nothing going on. Nothing at Backlund, nothing going on. Like, they're just a mess. But what I really, really do want to talk about in terms of Alberta is how bad Edmonton's goaltending is. I saw a tweet. I forget who tweeted it. It was obviously an Edmonton fan. They said they were going to make a Bet365 account in the name Jack Campbell. Like, this guy is awful.
Horrific.
Like we watched that game yesterday afternoon, Nashville versus Edmonton, while we were waiting to go to the Hounds game last night. And man, that was tough on the eyes in terms of Edmonton's goaltending. And honestly, your signed jersey boy, Darnell Nurse, is like a shell of himself right now. I've used that term a few times today, shell of himself. But
yeah, I mean, like, we were discussing this. We were discussing this watching the game. That, like, I'm very hyperbolic with what I say a lot of the time. Like, I say a lot of, like, I like to exaggerate. You know, it's fun. I get my point across.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm being 100% dead serious when I say that me and you combined could run the Oilers better than their current management. Like, there's nothing that we could do to try and make that team better that would be anything worse than they've done.
Like you said yesterday, it would take us, like, actively trying to sabotage the team by like trading McDavid at 90% retained to the Leafs for a 7th or something like that.
Yeah, like, it would, like, that's the only way you could make the Oilers worse than what they currently are.
Yeah,
but, like, all you need to do is go and I know this sounds very simplified, but you need to get a legitimate fucking goalie. You can't be running Campbells and Skinners and Mike Smiths and fucking whoever the fuck else.
The problem there is, though, the big issue there, Gitano, is the fact that they've signed this guy to a 5-year, $5.25 million contract. Like, he's locked in.
Oh, like, I know.
They've committed. Pathetic. It's awful.
And like we were saying yesterday, they committed that after what, 35, 40 good games of Jack Campbell?
Yeah, he had half of a year in Toronto. He had like half of a good year.
Yeah, because he'd never been at that level before. Didn't start that season at that level. Found that level for 40-odd games.
Mm-hmm.
Fell off in the playoffs. Never hit that level again. And they they bit so hard on that.
Oh, it's terrible. They bit it. That's exactly what they did. They saw a little glimpse of a reasonable goaltender and bit. His save percentage this year, dude, is .873. .873. Let's talk about it. November 4th, yesterday versus Nashville, .853. 5 goals on 34 shots. Versus the Minnesota Wild on October 24th. .806 save percentage. 6 goals on 31 shots. October 19th versus the Philadelphia Flyers, who I might remind you are actively trying to lose. .875 save percentage. 4 goals on 32 shots. He had one reasonable game here, and it was a hell of a game. He was Leafs Jack Campbell in January of 2022 for a game here. 1 goal on 44 shots for a .977. And then...
Who was that against?
That was against Nashville.
Okay.
And then October 11th versus Vancouver, his first game of the season. He was pulled in this one. He allowed 4 goals on 16 shots for a .750 save percentage. Without that .977 game, this is like ECHL level goaltending. I'm dead serious.
Put some respect on the ECHL, bud.
Man. Yeah, he had a 9-2-1 with the Leafs in 2020-2021, and the Oilers just went, I need some of that, and signed him to a ridiculously overpriced deal. And like I've said, man, goaltending is voodoo. You cannot pay a guy like that unless you are sure. Like, unless you got a Hellebuck, unless you got an Ottinger, a Demko. Like, that's who you pay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, voodoo. Complete voodoo. You said it before, I'll say it.
And yeah, like, outside of those success, but like a guy like Jacob Markstrom was on the market. He was a free agent a couple years ago. And I don't know how they didn't make a run at that. And yes, he's kind of fallen off since he arrived in Calgary, but like at least that would have made sense. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where you had a guy who for years had been one of the top goalies in the league.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. And then like not only do they not make a run at him, but they let him go to their biggest fucking rival.
Yep. And I believe there was rumors that they were in on him. I think they just failed to match what Calgary was willing to offer. If I'm not mistaken.
Like I don't get it. That could have been your guy. That could have been your guy. Your goaltending issue is solved. All you need at that point is to get a couple kind of top to mid pairing defensemen, like kind of like maybe like one or two like number 3 guys, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
To kind of support Nurse. And then there you go. Like that, you already have McDavid and thing up front. But even then, what have they, other than Nugent Hopkins going absolutely fucking nuclear last year for no reason? He's never done that in his career before. What moves have the Oilers front office made to make their offense any better?
To make their offense any better, I can't give you one. I can give you one move for the entirety of Connor McDavid's career that I like, and it's the Ekholm pickup, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
I'm not kidding.
I just don't understand how you have, one of the guys who's going to be one of the best of all time.
Yeah, and you're wasting his career away. Like, absolutely wasting his career away.
That's what I talk about when I say he's going to fucking lead Edmonton, is this kind of shit. Like, at some point, he's going to fucking be like, you know what,
I can't do this anymore. Kenny Holland is absolutely batshit crazy. I can't do this anymore. Like, he's going to do that at one point. He has to. If he's got any brains at all, he'll do that. Let's move on to some more Canadian teams. We'll do a little rundown of Canada here. Let's just touch on the Winnipeg Jets. There's not a whole lot to say about them right now. They're mediocre. They're 5-4-2.
I mean, good enough for third in the division. So like,
they're in a playoff spot. It'd be interesting to see what happens with them. They had a comeback win last night against the Arizona Coyotes, which is tough. Arizona's 5-5-1. What?
Yeah, they're like not terrible.
Wow.
They're not good, but they're not terrible.
Good for them. Like, good for them. Seriously, I did not realize that. So yeah, we'll please hold on the Jets here. We'll get a better evaluation of them. I feel like in a few weeks we'll kind of see and know what they are. You know what I'm saying? And let's talk about those Vancouver Canucks.
I don't like to say this, but they're like nasty.
They're kind of sick, dude.
Like, the rebuild isn't over there, but like they've taken steps. Like these 11, 12 games.
Leading the defensemen in points. They got Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser playing just like gods right now. JT Miller's been contributing. Dr. Demko's been him.
Yep.
They murdered San Jose last night. Like, they actually should be charged with first-degree murder for what they did to San Jose. Was it last night that they played them?
I don't know if it was last night, because they've, spoiler alert, the Sharks have held 10 goals twice in their last Pittsburgh. 2 games.
Hold on, I'm misremembering here. Oh, please hold. Like, okay, it was Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday, the Canucks beat the Sharks 10-1. Oh my god. So yeah, Vancouver's on one though. Like, I really like what I'm seeing. Rick Tocchet's got those guys cooking out there.
Which is like, I did not see this coming at all.
No.
After the whole Bruce Boudreau stuff last year.
It was a mess.
I thought that at some point, like, the wheels are finally going to come off here, and we're going to go full Ottawa Senators, and no, they fucking.
No, they're 7-2-1. They're playing great hockey. Like, they're what we thought Edmonton was going to be.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is that Quinn Hughes playing like almost 30 minutes a night every night, not sustainable. Like, at some point, you got to give him some help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll be fine around 26, 27, but he can't be running like 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He's a horse. He can handle it. But like, let's talk about Elias Pettersson having 20 points, 6 goals, and 14 assists through 11 games. Let's just chat about it. This guy went this offseason and got bigger. Like, that was his whole goal. He He's a brick shithouse now.
Yeah.
This guy's like at a 2 point per game pace almost. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Good for him. Like, what the hell? I think that's fantastic. We've shit the Canucks a lot. We have taken lots of big shits on the Canucks.
Like, rightfully so, though. But also, on the other end of the spectrum, now that they're actually doing really well, we will have no problem.
Gotta give them their props. Gotta give them their props. Yeah. And that's a great transition because they beat the hell out of the San Jose Sharks, as we mentioned. The San Jose Sharks, I just want to get this off my chest. This is we're a pretty long episode here, but they might be the worst team in NHL history. Like, they actually might. They are 0-10-1. They're here. Give me 1 second. I got to pull up the stats. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth here.
They've scored 12 goals in 11 games, and they've conceded 55 for a negative 43 goal difference.
Austin Matthews has 11 goals in 11 games.
Yeah.
So
I know that the Hughes brothers. I don't know if this was before last night's games. The Hughes brothers combined had more points than the entire San Jose Sharks roster.
Yeah.
So that's the three Hughes: Jack, Quinn, and Luke.
Yeah, no, this is a historically bad team. They might not win a game.
So it's a great transition to our fill in the blank. Just a quick one here. The Sharks will get their first win after blank games because they played 11 and they got nothing.
Well, let me see what they have coming up.
All right, that's fair.
San Jose Sharks. They played the Flyers. I think the Flyers beat them.
Yeah.
They play the Oilers on Thursday. They could win that game. Like,
they could. But like, I feel like that's going to be like an 8-7 Oilers win because McDavid will score 8 goals on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Jack Campbell will also give up 7.
Yeah.
Vegas
I'm
should
looking
slap
at this
them.
roster. Pardon?
I said Vegas should slap them.
Vegas is going to slap them for sure. Who do they got after Vegas? The Ducks will probably beat them too. Panthers are going to smoke them. Blues are going to smoke them. Canucks are going to beat them 15-0.
They might get their first win against the Habs on November 24th. That might be it. That's my guess. That's going to be my guess.
You know what? I'm going to give them credit. I'm going to say they beat the Oilers on Thursday.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Let's take a look at this roster. Like, let's seriously take just a little bit of a dive into this roster here. Okay?
Yeah. Because it is not good.
Luke Kunin, Kevin LeBanc, Fabian Zetterlund, Kyle Burrows, Ryan Carpenter. I think their best player is Anthony Duclair. Or no, Thomas Hurdle's still there. Thomas Hurdle's still there.
Yeah, Thomas Hurdle's still there.
Okay.
Oh my God, the ghost of Marc-Edouard Vlasic still plays for them? Jesus
He still
Christ.
plays in the NHL?
Yeah, and they're paying him $7 million a year for the next 3 years. He's 36. Hey, great defenseman in his day. Like, don't get me wrong. Phenomenal defenseman in his day.
Great.
But his day was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, like 2014 Olympics was peak Marc-Edouard Vlasic. They're second. Like, I would put their top 3 as follows. Like, this is terrible. Hurdle, Duclair, and Kevin LeBanc.
Like, that's... Sorry, but 2 of those 3 cannot be in your top 3 best players. Like, straight up.
That's crazy. What's that? This is save percentage. I gotta see it.
I mean, Logan Couture is on LTIR, so like,
yeah,
tough, but
Logan Couture is not making this roster that much better, dude. Not even close.
I mean, they're also spending a bunch of money on dead cap space.
Oh yeah, of course they are.
Yeah, 4 and a bit to. It's for Carlson and Burns. That's what's.
you got to feel bad for San Jose fans, because they've been good like almost since their inception. Like they've been making runs at these playoffs like every year. For years they did that, and this is a historically bad hockey team. Like
on pace to be one of if not the worst teams in the NHL
team of all time.
history.
Yeah. Oh,
like these guys make like the 2021 22 Habs look good. Because that was actually like one of the worst seasons in NHL history, and like these guys, they're gonna fucking make a run.
They don't have a goalie with over a .88 save percentage this year.
No, because they've got fucking Blackwood and Kakkonen.
Yeah, and they called up this Magnus Krona guy that played yesterday and had fucking 4 goals scored on him in 17 shots.
Yeah, well, I mean he's a fucking emergency call up, so like
Man.
the bar is not very high there.
Man, we might see history. I'm
telling you, November 24th against the Habs, that'll be their first win.
That's unbelievable. Okay, well, I think we've pushed this episode long enough. We're creeping up here on time. So, anything else for you to get off your chest, Gitano Gal?
I do not think so. Actually, so the Habs this week, we have the Lightning at home on Tuesday. We're going to Detroit on Thursday. And then on Saturday, Sunday, we've got the Bruins and Canucks visiting the Bell Center with me, because I will be there. So there won't be an episode on Sunday. I get back Monday night, so the episode will probably be up at some point on Tuesday night. So sorry about that. What do Leafs have coming up?
Leafs this week, Lightning tomorrow, 7 p.m., so you guys will get them on the second half of back-to-back. The Senators on Wednesday at home, Flames in town. Then the big bad Canucks are in town on Saturday night, and that's the last that we'll see before we do another episode, because they don't play after that until the following Friday at 2 p.m. Oh, that's in Sweden. That's why. Yeah. So that's what's coming up.
All right, that is everything for me. That's everything for you.
As always, thank you for listening to this episode of the Bitter Rivals podcast, powered by 91N. We will talk to you next week for episode 109. As Gitano mentioned, probably be up on Tuesday. Thanks for listening again, and ciao for now.